So starting off with how we can access it, we have given like a shortcut in the navigation menu itself. If you type in triggers, you can see a direct link to triggers. If you open it, it will directly open the triggers tab in Workflow Studio. So along with our other tabs like flows, subflows, actions, we have a new tab for triggers, and the users can click on new, select trigger, and get into creating their saved trigger.
Very cool.
Yeah. And for this demo, I'll create a simple trigger called P1 incident created. And here I can select my trigger type. As I mentioned in Yokohama release, we are working with the record-based triggers and a new trigger type called external trigger that we talk about in the next section. So
Little
yeah,
teaser for what's to come.
Yeah. So just selecting created over here, I can add in my description, select the additional properties. So this is very similar to how you create a flow. So all of
Hmm.
the properties are similar to that. And once I configure this, I click on build trigger and get into this trigger definition page. So all of the fields are also very similar to what we see while we are defining a trigger in Flow Designer. So starting
Mhm.
off by choosing a table. Uh, so I for this I select incident. I can configure my conditions. So just choosing one condition, that priority is P1, so critical. Just taking our focus to the new two toggles we have over here. One is allow users to view conditions. So this is
Mm.
turned on by default. The idea of having this toggle is that if there are complex conditions that the admin doesn't want the delegated developer or a low-code developer to bother about, they can completely like choose to hide the conditions altogether. The users can just pick up pre-saved triggers and go ahead with making their flow. So just hiding all of the complexity, giving an option for that. And the second toggle we have is allow users to add additional conditions. So right now the users are able to add conditions over here, but we also allow them to add some extra conditions on top of their saved triggers in Flow Designer. So if the admin doesn't want the low code users to add that, they can totally just turn off this toggle, and only the saved trigger definition would comply. They would not be able to customize it or add extra conditions on top of it.
So essentially, that toggle basically turns this into kind of like an object oriented entity where they inherit the trigger, but they could add customizations that wouldn't affect the parent. It would only affect the trigger in that specific flow, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Very
That
nice.
Yeah. So just these two customization options on your trigger definition, and along with that, we have some advanced options. So these are also the same ones that are currently available in Flow Designer, and we have the same default values as the ones in Flow Designer, and the users can choose to change them based on their use cases on whatever they want. And once they're satisfied with their trigger definition, they can click on publish. I would also like to highlight that we have autosave here. Just being consistent with all of our builders, and you don't have to again and again click on save or bother about losing your changes that you are making. We have undo redo, so any changes that you want, you don't have to go back and forth for it. So both of these options are available in saved triggers.
Now, one little thing I see on that tab up top is that it says global, indicating that this trigger exists, I assume, in the global scope of ServiceNow. Do triggers are they can they be existing as part of a specific scope or will they always be a global entity?
They can be of a specific spoke. So we
Mm,
selected the application scope while we were doing the properties. So I just
gotcha.
selected global, but you can totally see the scope over here in the properties menu as well. Although it is not editable, but users can definitely, while they are starting to create their trigger definition, they can choose a custom spoke that they want.
Lovely.
And yeah, so we have the trigger definition created, and now I'll go ahead and publish this. So my trigger definition is active and it's successfully published. Now I can go to any flow. I've just created one for the ease of this demo. So just like any flow that you create from scratch or a existing one, you can click on add a trigger, as this is the very first step when you start off by creating a flow. I would also like to mention that users can still create triggers on the fly, that like they usually do. So if I click on created, I can still create my trigger, which is like specific to this flow, like I have currently been doing up till the past release. The only additional option is that now I don't have to bother about creating it over and over again. I can choose my application spoke where I saved my trigger definition, and I can just click on P1 incident created. So just like that, in one single click, I'm ready to go and add in more actions and go ahead with making my flow.
Now, I love seeing this. Again, I love seeing aspects of recyclable entities in Flow Designer. And as a power user of Flow Designer myself, or I guess now called Workflow Studio, excuse me, one thing that I love about one of the later versions of Workflow Studio is the ability to select multiple actions and then turn those actions into a subflow. Is there a similar aspect to a trigger? Like if I build a trigger in while I'm building my flow, and then I think to myself, that would have been really good if I had built that as a saved trigger. Can you do that within the flow itself, or is that somewhere in the upcoming backlog?
Yeah, it's coming in the upcoming releases. But once you are creating your trigger, we'll have an option to save your trigger. So you can just click on that save icon, and just your trigger would be a saved trigger, and you can go ahead with making your flow. And in the other flows that you use in the future, you can just pick up the saved one. So you can directly save it from this interface as well, without like specifically going into the saved trigger UI and then saving it. No worries. So I just wanted to showcase the editing experience to the users one. So yeah, if there is a change in business requirement, you can click on edit trigger, and probably just add in, if I want to add in like a new condition that says active is true. I make this change, I click. So I'm already using this particular saved trigger in this flow, and I've saved this flow with the changes. And after making this change, if I click on publish, it would indicate me that this is the flow that is using your saved trigger. So if I click on, yeah, so if I click on this link, it would take me to the flow directly, where I can assess whether I need this change in this particular flow or not. If I choose that I don't need this change in this flow, I can choose to click on this option called detach, and it would detach from the centralized trigger definition. So I won't get the centralized updates, whatever I'm making here in that particular flow. So that's an option we wanted to give to users, and make it easy for them to have saved triggers as like a new way of creating their trigger definitions faster. And yeah, and having an option of not getting the updates if they would not like to.
One thing I liked the most about that too is it showed what state the impacted flows was in as well. So you would know like if you're impacting something that is living on prod once you push it, right? Versus something that might be still in construction and draft, which might not be as of big consequence. But how nice to have the ability to detach it. So that way the ones that you don't want to have the trickle down effect, you could have them remain independent and not have to rebuild the trigger just because you changed the parent. How nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. I'm glad you included that. That's really nice. That's really cool. Very cool.